Now on Fox 26 KNPN, a man has been found guilty in the death of a child. We'll tell you how many years in prison he will face.
And there's less than a week until the deadline to file your state and federal taxes. We have some tips to help make the process a little less confusing.
And another beautiful day out there. I'll tell you how long until we see our next chance for rain and storms. Your news starts now on Fox 26 KNPN.
Live from St. Joseph and Buchanan County to Andrew, DeKalb, and Donovan counties, this is News Press Now at 5 on Fox 26 KNPN.
Good evening and thanks for joining us here on Fox 26 KNPN. I'm Bob Heater.
And I'm Julie Lev. We're going to start with some breaking news coming out of the South End. Boost Mobile down in the South End apparently has been held up at gunpoint. 2 males have fled the scene. We don't have very much information right now other than we don't believe there are any injuries. However, we do have a Fox News Press reporter heading down to the scene right now, and be sure to check out our Twitter account as we update you, and we'll have more tonight at 9. Okay. A man charged with abuse of a child, which resulted in a death, was found guilty today. Roy Miller's trial before Buchanan County Circuit Judge Randall Jackson began Monday. The 1-year-old boy, Carter, died from severe and prolonged head trauma back in August. The boy's mother, Sasha Lazarge, entered a guilty plea last year to the charge of endangering the welfare of a child. She is serving a 7-year prison sentence. Miller's sentencing is currently set for May 18th in the afternoon. He faces a possible sentence of 10 to 30 years or even life in prison.
Possible human remains were found near Pattonsburg, Missouri yesterday. A local farmer found a shotgun and what looked like human bones in his field. Davies County Sheriff's deputies and a coroner responded to the scene at I-35 and Granite Avenue. The firearm found was confirmed that it was the one stolen from the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. It is related to the incident involving a stolen police car from about 2 years ago. The car was later found abandoned, but the man is suspected of stealing the car was never located. Those remains found Monday were sent to the Kansas City Crime Lab for DNA testing.
2 new members will join the St. Joseph School District Board of Education tonight. Dr. Brian Green and Tammy Pasley were elected to the board last week in a 10-candidate race. They will replace Brad Haggard and Eric Bruder. The board will elect a new president and vice president, also a representative for the Missouri School Board Association. So keep an eye out on the News Press Facebook page for a live look at the swearing in of the new members, and find out who the board's new officers are tonight at 9.
Just 6 days out from the New York primary, and Donald Trump is still in the lead, both in delegate count and polls in his home state. But despite the number being in Trump's favor, he has, sort of picked fights with his own party recently. Diane Gallagher joins us live this evening from Washington. And Diane, Trump does not appear to be standing down on any of the comments he's made, but that's really not anything new, is it?
Really it isn't, but it's sort of the opposite in this situation. Things seem to almost be escalating. It's really surreal that in the past 24 hours, Donald Trump has used words like rigged, crooked, and corrupt to describe not the party that he's trying to beat, but the one that he's trying to earn the nomination from in the general election.
Donald Trump's relationship with the RNC has never exactly been warm.
The RNC better get its act together. Because, I signed a pledge, but the pledge isn't being honored by them.
But this appears to be all-out war in the wake of the Colorado convention and Ted Cruz snatching up all of the 34 delegates there. Trump is on a mission to convince voters that he's being targeted by his own party.
This was a dirty trick. These are dirty tricksters. This is a dirty trick. And I'll tell you what, the RNC, the Republican National Committee, they should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this kind of crap to happen.
Now, critics argue that this is simply a case of the frontrunner who brags about his outsider status, not fully understanding the inner workings of the nomination process. But Trump has his own theory, going so far as to claim during a CNN town hall Tuesday night in New York that the party is trying to prevent him from clinching the nomination.
I know the rules very well, but I know that it's stacked against me by the establishment.
You don't think the RNC wants you to get the nomination?
No, I don't think so. I really don't.
Within an hour of those town hall attacks, RNC Chair Reince Priebus took to Twitter, sending out what appeared to be a response, tweeting, quote, "Nomination process has been known for a year plus beyond. It's the responsibility of the campaigns to understand it. Complaints now? Give us all a break." Now, this is the second time this week that Priebus has defended the RNC rules on Twitter, seemingly in response to Trump's claims that the whole thing is rigged.
And you know, Donald Trump may not actually have too much to complain about over the next week if the polls are any indication. Right now, he has a huge lead in his home state. We're talking he's polling at more than 50% in New York. And if that holds up come Tuesday, he could be looking at all 95 delegates being added to his total. And, you know, Bob, while that is a lot, it's still an uphill battle for him to reach that 1,237 goal before the actual convention, which would allow him to clinch the nomination. So if he falls just short, you can imagine the type of fireworks that are going to fly between him and the RNC at that point.
All right, so the Democrats shagged some major, but, well, definitely different endorsements today as well. So how much of that will really matter in the long run, Diane?
Well, it's sort of interesting, Bob. I mean, it's hard to tell how much these endorsements are really going to help these particular candidates. It hasn't seemed to make much of an impact so far, but then again, it's never really a bad thing to have a bunch of people in your corner. And Senator Bernie Sanders actually scoring his very first endorsement from a member of his Senate there, one of his colleagues, Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley, saying that he believes that Bernie Sanders is the man who can help rethink the political process. Hillary Clinton getting her own endorsement today. You may recall that New York Daily News interview that Bernie Sanders did that was slammed. Hillary Clinton did one as well. This is what started that whole who is qualified to be president argument between the two of them. Well, the New York Daily News came out today saying they were picking Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, saying that she was the candidate who they thought had the plan to actually help middle-class Americans, and that they thought that she was, in their words, a warrior for realism.
Oh boy, and on it goes. Thanks, Diane. Diane Gallagher updating us from Washington there.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
And we've only just begun.
I know.
All right.
But it is the middle of April.
And it was a picture-perfect day in April.
It was a beautiful day. But let's check in with Cecilia over in the Storm Tracker 26 Weather Center to see how long Mother Nature is going to play nice.
I just want to throw it back to yesterday when I promised good weather and delivered. Right now, we are sitting in the 70s, 73 degrees out there. Winds coming in from the south at around 8 miles per hour. Really not too bad out there. We are seeing those winds starting to calm down already this evening. We're going to see them calming down a little bit more as we head through the overnight hours, but all over the region, we're seeing those temperatures sitting in the 70s, 70 degrees in Maryville, 75 in Avenue City, and 73 in Hull. So definitely a comfortable afternoon. It's going to take a little while for those temperatures to come all the way down. We're looking to stay dry for a little while, but this is our next system all the way off the coast. It's still in the Pacific, so it's going to take its time to get here, but it looks like by the end of the weekend, that's when we're going to see our next chances for rain. But right now, we're just talking about adding in a couple clouds by Friday to our forecast, still hanging out in the 70s, it looks like, through the end of the week. So we're going to be staying warm with plenty of sun. We are, like we said, going to see a few clouds by Friday, but storm chances could be on the way, and I'll tell you a little bit later on in the show when we're expecting those. Bob and Julie?
Thanks, Cecilia. One man is behind bars tonight after he fled from St. Joseph Police and crashed his pickup truck into 3 parked vehicles. It happened in the 1300 block of South 17th Street in St. Joe early this morning. Police believe the truck was stolen. It all started about 1:50 in the morning when police spotted that pickup that officers thought was stolen. The driver then fled when the officers attempted to stop him. A block later, they found the vehicle had crashed, hitting 3 parked cars. There were no injuries, but all of the vehicles did have to be towed from the scene.
And a water main break in the 4300 block of Maxwell Road this morning temporarily closed the street and left some homes without water service. The city of St. Joseph contacted the water company about the main break around 5 this morning. Missouri American Water crews were able to isolate the 12-inch water main break and make the needed repairs. The company says the portion of the street may remain blocked off where crews finish up the work. And with less than a week before, not 3 weeks, a week.
One week.
Monday before the deadline for taxes, many are still rushing around to get everything in order.
And digging out that shoebox of receipts about now, that's what I thought. Well, a new tax form is adding to the confusion. You'll be glad to know, especially for those who purchase health insurance during the government marketplace push. Alex Flippin tells us more.
Just like everybody's name and social security number is different, everybody's tax is different.
Marcia Heater has been doing people's taxes for the last 15 years, and she knows better than anyone that there's nothing cut and dry about filing that return.
Depends on if you're single, if you're married, if you have a business, if you have a partnership. Everything is different.
There are probably some that would argue tax preparation is pretty easy. But for a lot of us, tax time can be a pretty confusing time of year. Just consider all the forms, 1040s, W-4s, Schedule A's, Schedule B's, and dozens of others. But the form that seems to be causing the most confusion this year is the 1095-A.
People don't understand it. They don't know what to do with it.
This year, under the Affordable Care Act, taxpayers are required to prove they have health insurance or pay a penalty. That's done by filling out either a 1095-A, 1095-B, or 1095-C.
Now the difference is that the only time you actually have to have that 1095-A is when you have insurance through the marketplace and are receiving a tax credit. That's the only time that you actually have to have that in order to file.
ACA navigator Tyler Graff says the 1095-A form is for those who purchased insurance through the healthcare.gov marketplace. Why it's important.
When you go to actually do your application, we base those tax credits on projected income. So when we sit down in March, we have to project out what you're going to show at the end of the year. That can be very difficult.
Meaning a person may have received too much or too little credit and could owe or be owed additional money. And incorrectly filing can lead to further headaches down the road. So when it comes to the tax side of marketplace health insurance, Graff suggests seeking the advice of a professional like Marcia Heater. Make sure everything is right the first time around.
When it's not, you're looking at penalties and interest. And a lot of people don't. It's bad enough to pay taxes. They sure don't want to pay penalties and interest on top of it.
Alex Flippin, Fox 26, KNPN.
And just a reminder, folks have a few extra days to file this year. The actual deadline is April 18th due to some holidays. Missouri Western is hosting a special speaker tonight on campus. Coming up after the break, we'll have a preview of that event.
And we have got plenty of sun in the forecast, but also a few days of showers and thunderstorms. I'll tell you when we're expecting those coming up next.